Hi, everyone. I'm Carla Sosenko. I am so excited to be here with In Creative Company today, especially because of the person I get to talk to. Today, we are joined by Elizabeth Mitchell, who is joining the second season of Outer Banks. Elizabeth, hello. How are you?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. This is such a treat for me.
I mean, back at you big time. I have so many things that I want to talk to you about.
Good.
The first thing, obviously, is Outer Banks, which the second season is out on Netflix. People freaked out for the first season. Tell us a little bit about your character's a new character.
Yes.
We're meeting the second season. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, my character is Carla Limbrey. She's a Charleston native, very, very, very old money. She's desperate for something, which always makes for a really fun character. And she will kind of stop at nothing to get it. I think they described her as kind and lovely on the surface, but that there was some sort of they said something wonderful like this little bit of menace lies under the surface. And I think it's a little more than that. She's she's more steel than magnolia, but she's fun. I had a great time with her, and it was fun to be, another antagonist. I love those women. They're my favorite.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because even in the way that you're describing her,
yeah,
some of your work, I think, could probably take that description and apply it to a lot of your characters.
Yes. I love the complexity of that. I also go through life. I just have a do no harm philosophy. I try not to leave the world or anyone I meet worse than when I found them, right? Hopefully we feel better. So to play these really toxic characters is fun for me. There's a real joy in being able to play these different facets of a personality and not hurt anyone. Have it be a situation where we're doing it for entertainment, for joy, for understanding, for a little bit of medicine with the sugar, right? All of those things are fascinating to me. Love it.
I think that one of the things that's so interesting, I would say, with this character especially, so the way that you put it is so beautiful, right? She's more steel than magnolia.
Yeah.
But I will say, and I don't know if this is the character or this is you as an actor, because of your ability to imbue even villainous characters with some pathos and just something to hook onto. I will say, and anybody who's seen the first episode will probably agree with me. Yeah, you get the sense pretty quickly that she's not great.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I was sure.
Good. That makes me so happy. The first thing I do with any character is I try to find a way to love them. She was a tough one. I've had a couple that have been really tough, and she was tough because when I was younger, I met a lot of women like her, that as a child, I would watch them be so kind to my mother on the surface. And then behind that, when my mother's back was turned, they were vicious, right? Jealousy, fear, whatever comes into making someone behave that way. I got to see it firsthand as a child, and I was so protective towards my mother. And those women were just in my bad books, right? That's just how it is. However, playing them, I have started to develop an understanding as to the why. Why do we behave badly? Is it fear? Is it insecurity? Is it hope? Is it that weird idea that if we can just get to a certain place, we don't have to be unkind anymore? Well, I'll just do this, and then I can do all the good things I've been planning to do. And I also love that idea of the good guy. I think that whenever in life we feel good and righteous and sure, we need to really think about that because invariably we're having to make the people around us wrong in order to be right. So I think that's, you and I talked privately about curiosity. And I think curiosity is the thing that helps us have a greater understanding of the people around us.
Yeah. And that may be what resonates with her, because there's so much, obviously we'll get to know her better, but there's so much just from the outset that we're like, okay, I don't want to give too much away for people that watch, this season, but there are things that I feel like we're going to scratch away at her a little bit, and maybe we won't love her, but maybe understand her a bit more.
I think that's it, right? The understanding is key. And it's a bit of a cautionary tale as well. The more we shut out the world, the more we stopped being curious, the more we start believing that our way is the only way. The farther down that road towards this kind of a woman we can go. So in my mind, it's a cautionary tale. You know, you stay curious, you stay open, you don't let your opinion be the only one you can hear, right? You just listen.
Yeah. You mentioned that this was a tricky role for you, and that there have been a few others that were kind of tricky in a similar way. What are those other roles?
Oh gosh, you know, anytime there's a situation where I don't immediately have an understanding about what the person is going through, those are the roles that are tricky for me. The easy ones are, Juliet was easy. You know what I mean? Here is a good person trapped in a really terrible situation, right? The Ice Queen in Once Upon a Time, she was more challenging because why does she want what she wants? But then, you know, when I found her place there, I had such empathy for her. It's not that I would have made the same decisions, but, you know, curiosity kind of led me to why. What would make you become this person? What would make you go down this road? But yeah, the ones that are hard for me are the ones that don't value human life, that are in their own ways predators, because it's not a mindset I'm comfortable with. And all of those things where we just are like, I would never. I mean, but the minute you say that as an actor, then you will never, right? So you kind of have to say, what would make me? And I guess those are the roles that sometimes are the most exciting, because when you find it, you get really happy about it. You're like, oh, there she is. Oh, I know where she is. I see her. And you know, monsters walk among us, and they believe they're right. They firmly believe they're right.
Yeah. That's I would say always true and timely. A timely statement as well.
A timely statement as well.
Okay, so you brought her up. You brought up Juliet. First name only, because anybody watching knows who you're talking about.
Juliet.
Juliet was your character on Lost. So would you say, I mean, you've been a working actor you've had a very steady career as an actor. That is not easy to say. Not everybody can say that.
That's all I've ever wanted. And as a matter of fact, every time I start getting too popular or famous or whatever the word is that you would use for people really knowing who you are, I tend to take a step back and wait for a bit. And then I come back out again and I do it. And then I love my life. I love what I get to do. I love the different roles I get to play. And I have been so grateful and excited to always have something creative and fun to play, right? To have that be part of my world.
Would you say that Juliet is the character that people kind of most associate you with or approach you about?
No, there's three. I know that sounds so self-serving to say, but there's three. There's Juliet for sure. And those are probably my most kind of like intelligent, insightful, very passionate discussions. I get a lot of Santa Claus 2 and 3. I think it's become kind of a classic for people, and you'd be amazed. Like I always tell people, I have these big, rough, amazing looking dudes come up to me and they're like, hey, Mrs. Claus, like tattoos, you know, the whole thing. And like, give me these huge bear hugs. And my sisters are always like, what is happening? So I really quite like that. And then, you know, oddly enough, Once Upon a Time hit such a passionate and beautiful young audience that I have the most gorgeous young women come and hug me and say hello. And same with Gia. You know, those are usually tears and hugs, but I would say it's those are the ones I get noticed for the most.
Yeah. I want to, this is something I've never done before, but I want to do this. I hope it's okay.
It is.
I found an interview that you did with Entertainment Weekly years ago.
Yes.
It was looking back on Juliet's final scene on Lost.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for anybody watching, I'm sure they remember it, but it was incredibly dramatic.
Yeah.
And you describe it as primal, and that's, I think, spot on. So here's what you said. You said, it was such a lovely opportunity because there's always been this theory that I just may be a really, really horrible actor because I don't show any emotion. So I had multiple reactions to that. First of all, I was like, is that true? Has she really heard that theory? Because I don't believe it. And also emotion is what, I mean, you mentioned Gia, which is, the first thing I remember seeing you in. And emotion is like what I associate you with.
Oh, thank you. No, I do too. I think that right before I did that interview, I had read, so I don't really read anything anymore not because I'm not interested in people's opinions, but because I think that the culture that we have now, people write down every mean thing they're thinking. And I don't know that it necessarily serves me to hear it. Right. But I had read something when I was first online and it said, Elizabeth Mitchell is the most overrated actress ever, which gave me two schools of thought. One was, I didn't know I was that highly rated. And the other one, I was like, ever? Really? Ever? But yeah, I had heard someone say, she's so still, or I had directors say, you're so still, you never do anything. I think that for me, unless it feels true, unless it feels real, unless it feels like something that's really happening, I'm not going to push it to get it out there because I don't like watching that myself, right? It's just not something that appeals to me. Everything that you guys ever see me feel is because I feel it. It's there. It happened. It happens naturally. It's interesting. But I do know that I can be very still. And I think that's really just in my nature. I'm gregarious and I'm kind and I'm all of those things. But a lot of these characters don't express themselves that way. Their ability to express themselves is still and contained and like minute. And it just, I suppose, depends on how close the camera is.
I feel like it's always just there right under the surface.
Yeah. I mean, Juliet fell onto a counter crying. So I do feel like there's been quite a bit of emotion. That scene with Michael was devastating to film. It was so heartbreaking to think that you couldn't go home, right? That you couldn't see the people that you love and that you are trapped and that the person trapping you is right in front of you. Like that was some really fun stuff to play because it was easy. It's visceral. Yeah. I have a family that I adore. Like it's that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I promised you before we started that I wasn't going to fangirl, but I have to say, as someone who knows your work, including multiple episodes of Law and Order.
I know, right?
There's always have me come back. I just thought I read that and I just thought whoever wrote that, all due respect to whatever journalist that is, didn't know what they were talking about because that's the
it just you kind of glance, right? You glance at things sometimes, and especially the way we watch TV now, you kind of glance at it. And I think that the time we get to take in work is when we really watch. It's the same with people, the same with friendships. It's one way when you have a cursory understanding of someone, and it's another thing when you have an in-depth friendship. And I think it's the same thing if you start to see a character that you like, not even the performance, not even the ego of what I've done, but you start in on a character you like, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, they did that. Why did they do that? I wonder why they did that. And then your mind starts to create its own narrative. And that to me is success for an actor. Yeah. It's really not an ego-driven thing. It's that thing that you've allowed someone to fully immerse themselves and then take off on their own flight of what is.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that makes you a true, and I would have said this before you even said that, I feel like you're a true character actor.
That's so funny. I said that the other night. I was at this wonderful party with some actors. It was just a couple of us, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there and my co-star Will goes, oh my gosh, V, you did V. And I was like, yeah, what made it happen? I was wearing like a tank top and black pants. And I was like, oh yeah, this is like an Erica outfit. I totally get it. And then I was talking to someone else and all of a sudden Polly, my other co-star goes, wait, no, you were the girlfriend in Gia. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that was me, definitely. And then someone else, I swear it was all in one night, was like, wait a minute, wait, frequency? And I was like, yeah. So I realized, and they asked me how I felt about the fact that people don't seem to know what my work is. And I said, it's the ultimate compliment because I do consider myself a character actor. For Outer Banks, I lost a good 15 pounds because I wanted her skin to just, hang on her. I wanted her to look sick and poisoned and old, and that was my hope for her. And I've had so many people be like, oh gosh, you know, wow, are you okay? Like, how are you? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine, I'm still me. But it's so much fun for me to have those changes be true. And then what does that do? You know, if you were a young beautiful woman, as I suppose Limbrey was, and then all of a sudden you are in pain and you are sick and you are aging, what does that do for how you move through the world? What does that do for how you meet people's eyes? Like, what does that mean? And all of that is so interesting to me.
Yeah. What, having done and played as many different roles as you have, I would, if I were at that party, I would have been like, and you were the girlfriend on ER.
Yes.
Other huge
Yeah.
one, which
So yeah, ER is so much fun. And you know, Eric LaSalle just directed us and I don't think he remembered me at all from ER, which is hilarious because, you know, I had a massive crush and I would always just be near him because he was beautiful, but he's also such a calm and kind actor. And I would also just like scooch my chair next to him. Hi, Eric. Yeah, nice to see you. Here, you do your work. I'll just be here, you know, that kind of a thing. But I think he, because of, you know, I don't think he had any memory until I brought up the character. He's like, oh yeah, that was you. My director. So wait a minute, but it is really fun. Yeah. And ER, yeah, I love that. Legaspi. I love that name.
It's such a big compliment because I think that it means that you truly disappear into your characters. Whereas there are some actors who, whether it's their own fault or not their own fault, that's the wrong way to say it, whether it's just a product of celebrity today.
Yeah, celebrity's crazy today for sure.
All you see is the actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and some of those actors are so compelling that it's so nice to see. You're like, I'm going to go to this movie because this is so-and-so, and it's always going to be so-and-so, and it's kind of fun. It just never much appealed to me, and I also don't have that big a personality. I don't have a big enough personality to be the same in everything. I'm more of an introvert watcher. You know, I am curious. I do try to be behind the scenes, and I find it relatively easy to do so. I mean, I'm so blonde eyelashes, blonde eyebrows, you know, every kind of tint you see is on my face is put there. but I tend to just be able to kind of fade into the background and watch people. And that's what I want. That's my favorite.
Wow. What have you not done yet in your career? What kind of role have you yet to play that you'd really like to?
Oh gosh. You know, I had this kind of idea, and I've gotten to do it in a couple independents, but I don't do a lot of relationship drama, right? Like I don't get to do a lot where it's simply someone's trying to struggle through life and the intricacies of that, not driven by some sort of sci-fi or fantasy action or something outside of themselves, but just one of those wonderful French ways of just being. That would be really interesting to me. I think I would enjoy that tremendously.
Yeah.
But other than that, I do get to play all these different incredible women. I mean, I've been, you know, I've had powers. Right now I get to be a vampire, and that was on my bucket list. They gave me my teeth yesterday for, you know, for a photo shoot, and I got to.
Wait, let's talk a little bit about that project.
Oh, First Kill. Oh my gosh. Honestly, what a matriarchal world this show is. Our show creator, Felicia, obviously a woman, you have this incredible group of strong and intelligent women, and everybody's so different, and I'm loving it. It's my second kind of matriarchal show, I have to say, just because it seems, and it's so kind and curious and loving, and there's so much support for anything that you might want to be. However you see yourself, you are welcome in this show, right? And so we have all of that kaleidoscope of gorgeousness all together, and it's a universe that's been created with a great deal of acceptance and love, and the things that we have a hard time with in our world right now are not a hard time there, but we have other things. So it's really fun. It's a little bit of a Romeo and Juliet with vampires and hunters.
Amazing.
It's really fun. Yeah, it's really, really fun. And I play another, you know, terrible human, but I like her quite a lot. So, and you know, she is glamorous, and I haven't played a glamorous character in a really long time. So you know, I have nails and I almost always have lipstick on. And, you know, there's all kinds of makeup that I was so not used to having that hour and a half for makeup. Cause you know, you just throw stuff on. We did for Limbrey, we did a lot of shadows and we did a lot of trying to crepey and all that stuff. But like, it's fun. It's fun to be glamorous every once in a while. I mean, I am looking forward to going home and having nothing on my face, but it's a joy. And it's nice to be a vampire since I had always wanted to.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who wants to be a vampire?
I know. Who doesn't want to be a vampire? Like, come on. Like, every time I think of that, I think of Catherine Deneuve and her like, do that.
So cool. What is there anything about Outer Banks that we haven't covered, or just anything in general that we haven't talked about?
So let's see. So I have fun things coming up. You know, Queen Bees just came out, where I got to be with Ellen Burstyn and Anne Margaret. And I felt like I was on a dream ticket ride because they're amazing. And then I have another movie called Witch Hunt coming up, which I'm super excited about. It's really pretty darn wonderful. And then there's an incredible show called When Time Got Louder, about a family living with autism. And it's probably the most naked and emotional role I think that I've ever had. I wore no makeup for it. We used very harsh lights, and the emotion is palpable. A lot of it, we were allowed to improv. We worked with a lot of kids on the spectrum, and they were magnificent and exciting and beautiful humans. And so that was neat. And as far as Outer Banks goes, you know what? I was so impressed with those kids. They all, before I got there, they all DM'd me to say, welcome to the cast. Every time I was on set, they would come over and sit near me and make sure that I felt welcome. And they're just the nicest group of humans. So I feel like their success is not only deserved because of their talent and because of what they put out there, but they're the kind of kids that you would want to see successful, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear, actually.
Yeah. So those are my Outer Banks fun things.
I imagine, is it hard to come into a show? Because I think about the most parallel, I mean, actually, I guess it applies to ER, it applies to Lost, it probably applies to other roles. Is it harder or just different? Or what is it like to come into a cast that's really like an ensemble?
Yeah.
And then you come in?
I mean, sometimes it used to be really hard. I think when I was in my late 20s, because that's when I started doing television and film, I had done theater before. And in my 30s, you know, you have all these feelings of insecurity, right? Like, are they going to like me? And am I doing the right thing? And do they think I'm okay? And, you know, all the things that happens in your 20s and 30s. And honestly, you know, in my happy middle age, I'm pretty darn comfortable with myself. So if it is a bad situation, it doesn't seem to affect me. I kind of am curious as to why it's bad. It's usually fear-based, and you know my characters, so I'm fascinated by that. Yeah. And if it is good, it feels like it's just a nice gift, right? I don't expect it, but when it happens, it's nice. And my last 3 projects have been extraordinary with the people that I've met. So I haven't had to do my own thing and read my book and let people have their waves of everything. I have simply enjoyed every single person. So it is a challenge walking into a group. It's very much up to your lead actors as to how it goes for you, and usually your showrunner. And if they are behaving badly, or they are afraid, or they're worried, you know, it all kind of, then you have a worried cast, right? But in the worlds that I have been in, everybody's just been so kind. And so the getting to know people has been a pleasure, rather than just something that I get through so I can get to the fun part, which is the work.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. Congratulations on everything. Everybody watching should binge Outer Banks immediately. Yes. You get to take a break soon and take off the makeup and kick back and just relax a little bit.
Play in my garden, make some bread. It's going to be great.
Exactly.
Elizabeth,
thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you.
I loved talking to you. You're wonderful. And that hanging in the back, I kind of feel like I need to have that. It's so beautiful.
I'll try to remember where I got it.
Okay, please do. Because I just redid my thing during quarantine, my whole studio. Okay. Yeah, I rebuilt it, redid it. I'm gonna do something like that behind my bed.
Okay. All right.
Gorgeous.
Find it.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye. Thanks.
Bye. So much fun. Oh my goodness.